One of the things that I think is driving apart the country is it's not a referendum on the president so much as it's a referendum on evangelical Christians and religious Jews and people who are overlooking, at least publicly, some of the president's sins in order to maintain a level of I think, emotional support. Because I think you can intellectually support what the president does on policy and still say, right, but he's acting like a schmuck right here. And it's that gap that I think is really driving away young people, particularly with regard to President Trump. At least
well, I don't want them to be driven away. This is when you said we agree on 99.9%. This might be the 0.1 where we have a difference. I admire the religious community for sticking with Donald Trump. I have defended them in writing a great deal, whether it's religious Christians or Jews, because they understand what's at play here. The fate of the United States of America, the last best hope of humanity, is at risk here.
I'm not saying they shouldn't vote for him, mind you. I'm not saying they shouldn't even support him politically.
So fine. So look.
But when he sins, should they
yes,
say that is bad what he just did?
Yes, that's fine. But many do, but they try to keep a perspective. And this is where I know I am knocked for saying this. I believe there's a civil war in the United States. There is no joy in my saying this. I've said this for years now. I pray that it remains nonviolent. I don't know if it will. I think there's a lot of people on the left who, if they could get away with it, would physically hurt people on the right, and more so than the other way around. As Alan Dershowitz, Hillary Clinton supporter, lifelong Democrat, lifelong liberal, said to me, and it's on video, in his apartment in Manhattan last year. He said, let me tell you something, as a Jew, as an American, as a liberal, I don't fear a handful of Nazis. They mean nothing. I fear the far left. And that's how I feel. And the far left is Nazis are not taking over the Republican Party. That's an absurdity. It's a libel. It's stupid. But the far left is taking over the Democratic Party. So there's a civil war, and I am not going to spend my time criticizing the only guy who has saved me from losing the country. Because had there been any other Republican, and by the way, I was against him. And it's all in print. I was against him during the entire primary. I said from my first article, if he wins the nomination, I'll support him. Because there's no choice. But there is such a war at stake right now. Nobody else would have defeated Hillary Clinton. He was the only one, I believe. I don't think Ted Cruz would have. I don't think Marco Rubio would have. I don't believe Jeb Bush would have. And that was the brink. Supreme Court-wise, values-wise, you name it. That was the brink for this country. So in light of that, a moronic tweet or an awful statement is very small compared to the bigger issue.